like to invite our esteemed guest, CA Vishnu Prasad Mishra, to kindly introduce themselves and share a bit about their experience in this field.
Okay, thank you, Smriti, and good afternoon. I am glad to be a part of this discussion. Now, let me briefly introduce myself. I am a CA in practice and a law graduate too. Since I have been working closely on the matter related to taxation and financial planning, so I am very happy to be part of this tax discussion and the aspects of succession planning.
It's great to have you with us today, sir. So, let's start with a very simple yet very relevant question. When someone passes away, are they still liable to pay taxes in India?
Yeah, Smriti, first of all, this is a quite fundamental and misunderstood aspect of direct taxation. If at the outset only, if we think a deceased person in the literal sense cannot be taxed, but as per taxation requires a living person capable of compliance. However, in income tax law, income tax law, death does not extinguish the tax liability. The income accrued or received up to the date of death is treated as the income of the deceased individual and are to be taxed. Such income is taxed in the hands of the deceased itself, but the responsibility to comply, file return and pay tax, is discharged by the legal representative.
Okay. That makes sense actually, and that actually leads me to my second question. If the liability continues, then who is liable or responsible for paying the taxes and filing the return?
Yes, as I mentioned in my previous questions, like the legal representative is required to comply, file return and pay tax. The legal representative is treated as an assessee for tax purposes. He or she steps into the shoes of the deceased and become liable to file the return of income and pay taxes dues after the death of the uh, assessee. However, the liability of legal representative is limited to the extent of assets inherited from the deceased persons. He is not liable, like his liability is limited to certain extent.
So, got it. Now, building on that, how is the income of a deceased actually computed for tax purposes?
Yes, we can basically we can split the income into two parts, the deceased person till the income of the deceased person up to the date of death, and after the date of death, income of that. First of all, if we are calculating that till the date of death, income earned from the beginning of that financial year till the date of death is computed as if the deceased were alive under the normal provisions of the Act. All eligible deductions set up of losses available to the deceased can be claimed, but the return of income is to be filed by the legal representative on behalf of the deceased and tax levied in such manner and the same extent would applicable to the deceased. And secondly, the second part, after the date of death, uh, in that case, income arising from the assets inherited is generally taxable in the hands of legal heirs according to their share, unless the estate is remains under administration, in which cases special provisions may arise. But if the estate is not remains under administration, then the income after the date of death is taxable in the hands of legal heirs according to their share.
Okay, understood, sir. So, just can you just stepwise guide us? Ki, yeah, these are the steps to be followed, or these are the steps which are being followed while calculating the parts.
Yes, if I go to the income part, first of all, there is needs to be a separate assessment of estate, where the estate of a deceased person is under administration by an executor. The income of the estate is separately in the hands of executor. Then the computation of income is like the income of the deceased person for this computed as first we need to club and identify in which head. Basically, in income tax, there are five heads that are salaries, income from house properties, and profit and gains from business and profession, that is PGBP, and capital gains and other sources. We need to club and include income arising from the estates of the estate after death until administration is complete. Then we need to allow all the deduction and expenses that are setups and otherwise admissible. Then we have to select the executor, that is representative assessee. Then the assessee is made in the same status like in the deceased person would have assessed. In that way, there are relevant rates, income tax rates, and the person voice. Uh, we have to calculate the JTI then. Then after the deduction, the tax is levied on the executor in the like manner and the same extent that would have been taxes in the hands of deceased.
Okay, that's clear of the calculation part. Now, a very practical doubt, sir. Does the legal representative need to file a combined return or a separate ITR is required?
No. The legal representative is not required to any file any combined ITR for the deceased and himself. In fact, there is no such concept of this combined ITR.
Okay.
Uh, in the portal itself of the deceased person, he need to register himself as a legal representative. Like once the return is filed on the behalf of the deceased for income earned up to the date of death, representative by the legal representative. A separate return is filed by the legal representative in his own capacity for his personal income. Additionally, any income arising after the date of death is taxed separately in the hands of legal heirs or estate himself. Only the final return has to be filed by the deceased, and it has to be registered by the legal representative in the portal of the deceased person only.
Okay, understood. Now let's talk about compliances. What happens if the legal heir do not file the income tax return at all?
See, there are many consequences for not filing the returns by the legal heirs. There are certain income tax compliances, and there are certain civil and compliances also. For the, I'm going to the income tax compliances. As per the income tax rules, there are certain liability for legal representatives. A legal heir is treated as a representative assessee after the death of deceased one for the complying the tax obligations and paying the tax dues. And if it is not filed before the due date, then there are certain interest for non-compliance. Interest for delay in filing payment may apply, 234A, B, C. There are three sections for interest computations,
Of
and
the
there
income
will
tax
also
act,
be,
sir?
yes, it is for the Income Tax Act.
Okay.
Uh, there are three sections for interest computation on the tax liabilities for delay in filing, and also there will be a late filing fees and penalty will be also be levied for this non-compliance. And income tax authorities also has the right for the best judgment assessment. In the best judgment assessment, they will uh, compute the income by themselves, and this may trigger the undisclosed income to further proceedings. And the recovery proceeding will also start, and the earlier, like any outstanding tax payment may be recovered by selling out the estate by the legal heirs.
Okay. And in civil or something, civil law, are there any particular provisions regarding this?
uh, since their properties will be personally, the inherited properties will be liable,
Okay.
so they need to sell out the properties for the their properties will be attached, and they will be sold out to recover the tax proceedings.
That's really important to know. Moving ahead, for how long after a person's death does this obligation of filing ITR continues?
This also I have mentioned in the previous question, like similar way, the requirement to file ITR of a deceased person does not continue indefinitely for subsequent years. there need to be a file, the final return for the year of death. Uh, then for this final return for the income earned by the deceased up to the date of death, the income tax return is required to be filed only for the financial year in the death occurs, and the tax liability, uh, this needs to be filed by the legal representative, and the tax liability of the deceased does not end merely because of the person passed away. The law treats the legal representative responsible for completing the tax pending tax compliances as well. For this, additionally, uh, the return is to be filed using the PAN of the deceased, and the legal heirs needs to register himself or herself as a legal representative on the income tax portal, and then files the return on behalf of the deceased.
Okay.
And if there is any earlier year returns which has not been filed, that also needs to be filed subject to the time limits of the act.
Okay. So can you just, is there any certain time limits listed in statutory provisions?
Yes, generally there is time limits of 5 years, but it may vary depending upon the case-to-case basis.
All right. And finally, a more practical and preventive question: what steps should a person take during their lifetime to make this process easier for their legal heirs?
Sure. First of all, succession planning is not only about the distributing wealth or reducing taxes. It is equally about ensuring the legal heirs are aware of what needs to be done and able to access information smoothly after the death of a family member. In practice, one of the biggest difficulties we faced, and the families also faced, is not the legal process itself, uh, but the lack of clarity regarding the assets, documents, and the tax compliances and access to financial information. Therefore, every individual should maintain a proper and updated record of all the assets and liability, including all the bank account of deceased and investments, insurance policies, immovable property list, loans, and any interest or digital assets. This needs to be collected. The details should ideally uh, also include the account number or the institution name and the nominee information and the location of the relevant documents. At the same time, also the nomination should be regularly updated across all the financial assets such as bank account, mutual funds, in certain demat accounts and the insurance policies. Also in the provident fund, we generally update this, and the lockers facilities. Uh, if I go to the practical perspective of these questions, this trusted family members or the executor should also be informed about the existence of certain location of important documents like a professional advisor and a basic compliance requirements. Families frequent for this families frequently face difficulties because they cannot access the prior income tax returns or the proper documents like in the financial accounts or anything, property documents, capital gains records like uh, maintaining organized tax records, copies of past returns, uh, investment statements and supportings can easily compliance with the future litigations risk.
Okay.
Uh, Ultimately, effective succession planning requires both legal structuring and operational preparedness. Even the
Thank you.
state, okay.
No, no, so you continue.
Therefore, therefore, proper periodic communication, proper documentation, and clarity of responsibilities are also essential components of responsible succession planning.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for breaking this down very clearly. People don't usually pay much attention to all these things, but I think in a long run it really does matter. And I'm very sure that this conversation is going to help our audience to get familiar with the topic. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Smriti, for this giving me these opportunities, and wish of luck.